at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Time to rise and grind on the early line, Sirius XM Channel 159 right here on the Sports Grid Network. I'm Donnie Rightside. He's Dubs Anderson. Today's a gorgeous Wednesday, and boy, do we have a lot of hot topics to get after. 3 hours. You watching Major League Baseball? Absolutely. You watching the WNBA? Hockey season is now open. The NFL topics are absolutely red hot this morning, Dubs. I don't know how we're going to contain ourselves, but I'm ready to go, Dubs. How about you?
Happy hump day. Donnie, my favorite couple of hours of the week, catching up with you right here on the Sports Grid. Hockey is back. I cannot believe I'm saying that. Playoff baseball, and a lot to jump into and dissect in the world of football, Donnie. So it's a great time. Going to have a lot of fun over the next couple of hours and hopefully help you guys make a couple of bucks as we head into that Wednesday slate.
Absolutely, Dubs. I might have to make a change here to some of the rundowns because I want to spend maybe in 15 minutes talking about the Utah Hockey Club and how nonsensical that is. But there's so many topics to get to. Maybe we'll have fun with that later on. But let's get to Major League Baseball. Let's get to the National League. Padres 6, Dodgers 5 yesterday. On the brink now of elimination, those Dodgers, the top overall seed in Major League Baseball. How did it happen, Dubsy? Shohei Ohtani doesn't do anything in the first inning. Mookie Betts hits a home run. Now we have a 1-0 lead for the Dodgers, only to find out the Padres counter with a 6 spot in the bottom of the second inning. A grand slam by the Dodgers to get themselves back in the top of the third inning, and nobody scores the rest of the way. The hated rivalry continues. 6-5 Padres. The Padres can end it tonight. What a game last night, Dubsy.
Things you want to see. It's been chippy. There's been fire, and the offense was there to absolutely match. Tatis was fantastic. We saw the stutter step just before third base. That's what you want to see. Plenty of offense, plenty of runs when we didn't think it was going to be a high scorer. And suddenly for Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, they are up against it. Padres have been playing some fantastic baseball coming back into this one, and they showed us why they're last night. They've got a couple of bats who can absolutely send it yard at the drop of the dime, and that's what we got. So it was another big performance from Tatis, and what a week that we've seen down there at Petco so far.
Sensational stuff. And by the way, we'll get to it a little bit more in the second segment here. But if you would have told me before the game, Dubsy, that Michael King is going to give up 5 earned runs by the end of the third inning, that's a Dodgers win. And it wasn't here. So many factors to talk about. Let's flip it over and go West Coast back to East Coast yesterday. The New York Mets now have the number 2 seed in Major League Baseball on the brink of elimination because they beat the Phillies yesterday 7-2. The Phillies just can't score in the first 5 innings. It's not as if they're going against unbelievable pitching, but Sean Manaea, 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 6 strikeouts. He was the man on the mound. Nola, 5 innings pitched, 4 earned runs given up. The 2 solo home runs were his. He gets lifted. They gave up a base hit. 2 runs get tacked on the Nola. Not good enough for the Philadelphia Phillies. And again, as we said, Dubs, the Phillies on the brink of elimination today.
Yeah, they're going to have to find something special to rally in this one, Donnie. I thought you might be a little cautious towards your Phillies early on a Wednesday. Pete Alonso, he was the superstar, launching another homer there off Aaron Nola. So it wasn't a good outing for their starting arm. But for Manaea, I mean, put a lot of credit to that performance there. Took him right into the 8th inning. Special stuff there, just a 2-hit shutout. So fantastic stuff from the Mets. Can they go one step further? It's going to be a fantastic Wednesday afternoon. But the Phillies have shown us time and time again, they've got the moxie. They're going to have to lean on it today.
Ranger Suarez on the mound to try to fend off elimination for the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll see if they can make that work. And here's what we love about playoff baseball. Elimination games, 4 total games that we will preview today during the show. So make sure you stay tuned. We got you covered there. Let's flip it back over to the NFL. I wasn't on the air yesterday, Dubs. My goodness, Robert Saleh fired from the New York Jets. Boy, we heard that shot around the world. And Aaron Rodgers, hey, man, I had no idea. I love Robert Saleh. Sure you do, Aaron.
Oh, I cannot stand it. I cannot stand it. The time is now, per Jets owner there, Woody Johnson. For poor Robert Saleh, things have just not worked out in New York, and it doesn't get any easier when you've got the soon to turn 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers at quarterback calling all of the shots. I guess it was just a matter of time. I guess the big surprise for me, Donnie, is that it's happened after week 5. And, look, it wasn't Robert Saleh throwing those interceptions last week. It wasn't him as the main culprit, just putting up 9 points against the Denver Broncos. But we'll jump into this one a little further. But yes, massive news there for the Jets. And what does their season look like now moving forward? Still got a lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks for sure. Jeff Albrecht is going to now be the interim coach here with a chance to win that job. They love him inside the building. They're a defensive foundation football team. But the problem, as you said, Dubsy, never was the defense, which Robert Saleh was certainly the head point on that. Now we move forward to see what Aaron Rodgers can wake up. And they got a big game coming up this weekend, which we'll take a look at later. How about same division, Dubsy? Let's talk about a quarterback change. You say, Drake May is going to get his start. Jacoby Brissett has been absolutely terrible and inefficient at the same time. Drake May steps up against the Texans, but Dubsy, I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference with that offense moving the football and, quite frankly, not moving the football.
Yeah, we've seen enough from the Patriots. We know what we're going to get. We know they're limited in terms of offensive weapons. And for Jacoby Brissett, I mean, we knew what he was working with, but I guess over the weekend, their 52% completion rate with his passes, that wasn't good enough. 160 yards of offense. They lose to the Miami Dolphins, a beat-up Miami Dolphins 15-10. So they're saying, hey, now's the time. Drake May, hopefully he's learned a couple of, tricks coming up to the pros through the first 5 weeks, but he'll get his time on Sunday.
Yeah, he will get his time on Sunday. How much time he's actually having a pocket, Dubsy, with that offensive line? Good luck there. Let's keep it in the quarterbacks here in the NFL. Derek Carr, you watched him play prime time against the Kansas City Chiefs. He left early in that game, oblique issues, which means he's going to be down for a few weeks. Dubsy, this was a team that had maybe the 2 most impressive wins in the NFL season to open up in weeks 1 and weeks number 2. Now staring down the barrel of a 2-5 start without Derek Carr. My goodness, tough times down there in the Crescent City.
Yeah, and they showed a lot of character on Monday night going against the Chiefs, but it wasn't good enough. They're looking like a shell of the team that put up 91 points going through the first couple of weeks. And the big mail coming across early today as they get ready for Week 6 is that Spencer Rattler could be the guy to take over the duties there, at least until Derek Carr can get back fully upright. So for Spencer Rattler, would be the 5th rookie quarterback to get a start. That being said, with Drake May getting the start for the Patriots this week, and if we can go off what we've seen from the rookies the last couple of weeks, watch out for Spencer Rattler. He may give the Saints their best chance in a really, really tough matchup and expected to be a high score against the Bucs.
Yeah, Jake Haener came in that sort of secondary role once Carr left the football game. Didn't look all that good. Rattler was actually the emergency quarterback that night, but they didn't go to him. We'll see if he is the starter, because what I saw to Haener doesn't look good there for the future, at least the next couple games here for the New Orleans Saints. Let's get over to the WNBA. The finals matchup is here, Dubsy. The Lynx 88-77 over the Sun. They advance into the WNBA finals behind the Collier 27-point effort and Williams 24-point effort. Here we go. Liberty and the Lynx.
I've been waiting all season for this, Donnie. I had the Lynx to cover 4.5. You highlighted Collier, came up clutch there, 27 points, 11 rebounds. They now face off against the New York Liberty. So it's the number 1, number 2 seed in the finals. And I tell you what a championship this looks to be for the Liberty. You know, that they have been the class of the last couple of years. And for the Lynx, they had their own dynasty. Don't forget, back in 2011 to 2017, but that was the last time they advanced to the final. So the W getting set to turn it on. Cannot wait for this one, Donnie. It's going to be a back-and-forth series.
NHL opening night part number 2, because why? They opened up overseas, but they come back. The Panthers raise a banner and also get a victory over the Bruins 6-4. The Blues beat the Kraken 3-2 on the road. And how about this one? The first goals, the first wins, the first game for the Utah Hockey Club. When I bring up Utah Hockey Club, Dubsy, I look at that and say, it feels like I'm playing a 1980s Nintendo game where they didn't secure the rights to a professional hockey team, so they just have to call them Hockey Club. But Hockey Club got the victory last night.
And the logo matches your sentiment there, Donnie. It just says Utah. That's the logo. It's just Utah with a blue background. Maybe graphics department, they're working the playoffs there for the WNBA. So once we get them back in the mix, but great to have hockey back in the mix. Some great wagering opportunities. And yes, again, it's all about the Panthers. They look very impressive last night. They'll be one of the shortest prizes, not the shortest, as it looks like it's the Oilers is the one to beat.
Hockey underway as they spread it out this week. I don't think my Flyers play for another few games here, which again takes everybody should be playing Dubs on opening night. That's the goal here. But congratulations, Hockey Club, you got to win. Go Hockey Club!
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number 1 overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number 1 overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the game starts so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
October baseball, it is fantastic. Hour number one is underway here on the early line. It's Dubs, it's Donnie. Let's get down to it. San Diego Padres yesterday picking up a victory over the Los Angeles Dodgers, 6-5, setting the stage today for an elimination game for the top overall seed in Major League Baseball. Superstars all over the place, but Dubsy, I said it before this series started. I like the Padres because I thought the Padres had better pitching on a night-to-night basis than the Los Angeles Dodgers did, and certainly a very exciting and great lineup here for the San Diego Padres. It did sort of work out that way yesterday because the Padres won, but I was banking on Michael King. 5 to 6 innings pitched, Dubsy, 1 earned run, 5 hits scattered. He gave up 5 hits and 5 earned runs over 5 innings, and the Dodgers still weren't able to win. Also pointing out, what do you love about the Padres? That bullpen is really good. The bullpen gave up no runs. You also got countered by the Dodgers bullpen, which was fantastic. The starters struggled. The Padres won. It was a charged night at Petco, where I even saw the emails coming out, Dubsy, from ownership. Hey, foul language, fights in the stands, bad attitudes will get you ejected here. I love playoff atmospheres like this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it was a big carryover from what we saw on game 2, getting a little spicy out there. Dave Roberts wasn't too happy, firing a couple of shots back there in the lead up to game 3 there last night. But for the Padres, sometimes you're going to get it done different ways, and that bullpen is going to carry them a long way, Donnie. That was the deciding factor. They get it done 6-5. Tatis was special again, putting up that 6th spot in the second inning for the Dodgers. They were playing catch-up, and they showed plenty of rally to get back into this one, putting up 4 there in the third. But their starting pitching, it was always going to be a concern. This is not a big shock that the Dodgers are up against the ropes right now, going against the San Diego Padres. The arms have just been so inconsistent. They've been plagued by injuries. I think they've got Landon Knack set to start later this afternoon. We'll jump into that one in a little more depth. But for Walker Buehler, not good enough. The bullpen, they were decent without being fantastic. And for the Padres at home, down there at Petco, a park that's traditionally very tough in trying to score offense and trying to put up runs, the Dodgers were up against it late, and they just couldn't find that special moment. I thought it may have been coming for one of those big-name superstars for the Dodgers. For Ohtani, but just couldn't get it across the wire. So the Padres, a very good shot of trying to close this thing out. Now lead the series 2-1.
As you said, those West Coast ballparks there, right? You take a look in San Francisco, usually tough to score runs there. You take a look at the Los Angeles Dodgers, Dodger Stadium, not a hitter's ballpark. And then Petco down there, south in San Diego, certainly not. You had 11 runs scored by the end of the third inning. That was absolutely crazy. I did spend some juice last night, Dubsy. Minus 164 over 3.5 as a team total for the Padres. They clapped that in the second inning by scoring 6 times, which included Fernando Tatis's home run, which gave them the 6th run, where he admired that for quite some time at the plate, and you knew the excitement in that ballpark was going to be rocking, and the party was there, only to find a grand slam in the top of the third inning by Teoscar Hernandez. He said, oh my goodness, 6-5. Is this game going to end 10-9, 12-10, as if we were in Coors Field? The bullpens were sensational down the stretch. Hear me out on this, Dubsy. If we look at the 2 starting pitchers on the mound yesterday, if you rewound, let's just say 2 years ago before Buehler's injury, you'd say, oh my goodness, man, Walker Buehler, one of the best young pitchers in baseball, that's the guy you want to have on the mound. But he wasn't coming in great form in that game. Injuries, coming back from it, trying to find his way, high ERA, high xFAC numbers, and they hammered him in the second inning. It's a shame the way it works out, but as we say, it's baseball. The Dodgers, man for man, probably the most powerful team in Major League Baseball, but once you get into October, it's all about your starting pitchers. They're not helping that all that much, and as we said, they are on the verge of getting beat. And today, Dubsy, which we will preview down the line, the better pitcher again, it's for the Padres today.
Absolutely. That's going to be the edge. And at this time of year, going through October, it's not about, the best 5 arms you got in the clubhouse, but the best 2-3 punch. And the Dodgers just haven't got it. Right now they're trying to land uppercuts, but they're barely making contact. I guess for the offense, it was good to see Mookie Betts find a bit of confidence again. He finally sent one yard. It had been a while coming there, 22 streaks. So not good on that front. But for the Dodgers, look, it's tough to write off the best roster, one of the best rosters in baseball. There's a lot of juice. There's a lot on the line. And Donnie, as you know, once we get to this point of the season, everything is magnified. Any strength, any weakness, it's there on full display. We saw it last night. It wasn't good enough for Walker Buehler, who apparently got rolled for a $100,000 wristwatch last week at the racetrack. I saw that one coming across for the game yesterday. What are we doing? Why are we wearing a $100,000 wristwatch? So maybe he was a little distracted, but again, wasn't good enough to keep the runs down. If the Padres put up 6, they're beating everyone, especially down there at Petco.
Going to bet the ponies, Dubsy, getting ripped off of a 100K watch from your own fan base. Certainly it does. Yeah, we should have known that was coming at that point here. But we do have an elimination game today. But if we take a look at the series prices right now, and keep in mind, today, the Padres are a minus 146 favorite here against the Dodgers to close out that series. But the Dodgers coming in as a dog, if you think that they can actually win this series still, well, you got a pretty good price here to plus 295. If you think the Padres will close them out either it's tonight or in game number 5, that's a minus 370 price. The spread for the Padres to knock it down tonight, minus 1.5 is a minus 146, which coincides exactly with the money line today. So, Dubsy, can the Dodgers get off the mat in game number 4 and also go back home and win game number 5?
I don't think they can, Donnie. You know, the Padres have shown us they're not afraid to go in to Chavez Ravine and roll the upset. I think you've just highlighted it's the bullpen advantage that the Padres can lean on if it's going to be a very tough game 4, if they need it there for game 5. I just don't think the offense and the superstar bats for the Dodgers can get them out of this spot. And this is not a shock. You know, San Diego's been playing some really consistent, strong baseball, and right now it feels like the vibes are high. The momentum is there. We got them all fired up, all kinds of jacked up there for game 2 up here at Dodger Stadium, and now it's them against their biggest rivals in the bigs right now. What a fantastic afternoon it looks to be out there on the diamond. But no, I don't think the Dodgers can get out of this one. It hurts me to say that, but the Padres, they've certainly got the lean for me, Donnie.
Yeah, Dodgers got to step it up, and you lean on your superstars. Loved what I saw yesterday. What's the best way to quiet a home crowd? Hit a home run in the first inning. Mookie Betts did that, but look at some of the batting averages on that Dodgers team through 3 games. Shohei Ohtani, 231. Mookie Betts, 200. You take a look at Teoscar Hernandez, who hit the grand slam. He's at 300, so he's factoring in. Muncy, 167. Will Smith, 0. Just not good enough efforts. The superstars have to shine in the biggest moments, and maybe tonight you'll get that out of the Los Angeles Dodgers, but they need a great pitching effort to hang around. That ballpark is going to be on fire tonight. We'll preview that game a little bit later in the show. Let's flip it over East Coast time. Mets and Phillies right here on the early line.
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number 1 overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number 1 overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
There's panic in the streets in Philadelphia right now. Why is that? Red October could be coming to an end as early as tonight. Why? The New York Mets have a 2-1 series lead over the Philadelphia Phillies, winning game number 1, losing game number 2, holding home field advantage in game number 3 with a 7-2 victory over the Phillies, which saw a great pitching performance out of Sean Manaea. 7 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run. Pete Alonso got it started with a solo home run. A lot of guys chipping in. Solid contact is winning baseball games here in the NLDS between the Phillies and the Mets. And the one thing that the Phillies have an issue with is when you have runners on base, you have to convert. They haven't been able to do that. The Mets take a stranglehold, Dubsy, after a 7-2 victory yesterday.
Capitalized conversion, that's what it's all about. Pete Alonso, another special performance, another big home run there off Aaron Nola. You highlighted Manaea. He was fantastic, especially the endurance they got to see with him making it through that 8th inning. So that was a lot of rest for the bullpen. That's going to absolutely suit him in Game 4 coming up later here for Wednesday and trying to close out this series. But this has been a sign of the times for the Mets, Donnie. I mean, you can never write off that offense. Last night, they were feeling it. They got a really good matchup. They got to Nola. And with that, 7-2. Absolutely, I guess you could say, put the cleaners on him, and that's what we've seen through the series here. A lot of runs, a lot of offense, overs, 9 combined again there last night. So suddenly for the Phillies, and, you know, Donnie, I thought this was one of the most well-rounded teams coming in to October. Just haven't found that spark in the last couple. Well, they've got a really big spot coming up later this afternoon, but the Mets were very, very impressive. And I get for Pete Alonso, just knowing Nola so well, having that history. You know, these are two guys who have come in to the league at the same time. They squared off a bit in college there as well. So for Pete Alonso, always showed up and been seeing him really well there off Nola. He had the edge, got the lean on him again there last night.
Big spots and big moments. You saw the Pete Alonso home run. That's what you want. Take the early lead, bring the crowd into it. Winker hit the solo home run, and it was 2-0. And then Manaea got into a little bit of trouble in the top of the 6th inning, Dubsy. You saw the walks at the top of the order to Schwarber and Turner, which brought up no outs. Bryce Harper at the plate. Get a base hit, open this game up. He strikes out, and then Nick Castellanos actually had very good contact, but lines into a double play, and it just felt like the air was out of the balloon for the Philadelphia Phillies. Then, obviously, in the bottom of the 6th inning, the Mets tack on 2 more runs. Bottom of the 7th, tack on 2 more runs. This game was over at that point in that 7-2 affair. So it's interesting to see now. The number 1 seed is on the ropes on the road against the Padres with the Dodgers. The number 2 overall seed, the Philadelphia Phillies, on the ropes against the New York Mets. And quite frankly, it's just coming up with clutch hitting situations. The Mets are getting it done. The Padres are getting it done, and the Dodgers and the Phillies are not doing that. Today, Ranger Suarez is on the mound. If you are a Mets backer, this is your game. You have to win this one, because what happens if the Phillies do squeak this one out tonight, Dubsy? We go to a Game 5 at Citizens Bank Park, and also Zach Wheeler will be back on the mound. You can't let it get there. But for the Phillies, it is a kitchen sink game, which means if Ranger Suarez is struggling early, they will go to a complete bullpen game the rest of the way. The Mets looking for that positive tonight, basically a pick-em game. I'm looking forward to it, but I like what the Mets got going on. And typically, Dubsy, this is what the Phillies would do to teams. Not play great baseball halfway through the season, start to turn it on in August, play great baseball in September, and ride that wave. The Mets are doing that right now.
Yeah, and it's tough to really know what you're going to get from Suarez. You know, Cy Young Award candidate early in the season, sort of dropped off a bit with that production coming into October, but certainly has that top gear, that top ceiling, and they're absolutely going to need it here in Game 4. And for the Mets, you highlighted, Donnie, certainly don't want to go to the next one because that will be a formidable matchup, and they will not have any momentum if they were to drop Game 4 coming up here later this afternoon. So it's been a really good series. Pete Alonso has been the standout for me thus far, continues to step up in big spots, and Ranger Suarez, a lot of pressure, and there will not be a lot of time given. If it's not working out, if he looks like he's not in control or command of his stuff, they will hook him. So maybe look towards a couple of runs being scored in this one as well late.
Yeah, 7 is the total of this game. Minus 116 is a slight favorite at the FanDuel Sportsbook towards the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll see how that plays out throughout the afternoon, but we did have the graphic up. If you're looking for the Mets to win this series, which means, Dubsy, 1 out of the next 2 games, that's a minus 250 price on the Mets. If you think the Phillies as a dog price can win tonight, a plus 205 heading into game number 5, if they win this with Wheeler, that's a great ticket to have in your hand. We'll see if they can get through tonight and force a game 5. And even from a rooting perspective, I'm a Phillies fan. Of course, I want them to win, but a Major League League Baseball across the board, if you're not a fan of that team or betting, don't you always root for those elimination games and game number 5s? They're so much fun to let it play out and see which one of these teams can win. And the Phillies on the brink of elimination, the Dodgers on the brink of elimination. They can turn the tide tonight and force those game 5s. And also, as we pointed out to start the show, Dubsy, 4 games in Major League Baseball today, 2 in the afternoon, 2 at night here. Fantastic. And by the way, shout out last night, a later start there for that Padres game. The pitch clock comes in, man. Excitement, 2.5-hour games. Absolutely fantastic. We're going to talk more Major League Baseball next right here on The Early Line.
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number 1 overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number 1 overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Came from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
As you take a look today, and look, we got 4 Major League Baseball games, Dubsy. First game's going to start 3:08 in the afternoon. That's Cleveland and Detroit. Game number 2 is Philadelphia and the New York Mets. That's 5:08 Eastern. Then you have 7:08, the New York Mets and the Kansas City Royals. Excuse me, the New York Yankees and the Kansas City Royals. And then late night action, the Dodgers and the Padres. How do we, I can't ask somebody I love this. I love the staggering, Dubsy. I love the fact that you can just about watch every single game in its entirety. And we brought up already before the break the pitch clock that comes in. Do you remember in the past, you would watch, let's just say, a Yankees-Red Sox game that would start, Dubsy, at 8 o'clock Eastern, and it'd be 12:20, and we'd be in the bottom of the 8th inning. What are we doing in this point? I love the pitch clock, and it helps so much in Major League Baseball. The game just flows so much better.
Yeah, and Donnie, it's such a better product for television. Obviously, that's going to be a big part of the sport. I love the fact that we can watch all 4 games. I think it was only last week that I was bagging on the doubleheader for Monday Night Football. Nobody wants that. If you're a football fan, you want to watch each game in its entirety. Well, it's the same here for MLB, especially on the betting side of things as well. You can try and rattle off a couple of winners with the Guardians taking on the Tigers. You can roll it in to the second game, Game 3, Game 4. But nobody wants to stay up till midnight out here on the West Coast trying to watch, for the Padres close this thing out, especially for our brothers and sisters on the East Coast. So I think it's a massive win across the board. And I feel like a lot of these games have lived up to the billing. I think we got 4 bangers, Donnie, 4 absolute bangers with a couple of must wins on the line here today. So bring it on.
It is staggered. And by the way, once we get like to the NFL playoffs, sure, they do that as well. 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock games, 7 o'clock games. But I tell you, how about this, Dubsy, in the NFL? Just as we're talking about like ratings, what could be fun. Why don't they do it like college football? Like, why don't we have a kickoff at 12, a couple kickoffs at 1, maybe one at 1:45, 2:30? That would be madness, and you'd be able to stagger that entire NFL Sunday. But why break something that's not broken at this point? But let's go bargain shopping today. Do we have any value on the board? NL pennant odds. If we're looking today to win the NL pennant, of course, it's going to be the Padres and the Mets at the top of the heap when they were at the bottom of the heap to start these division rounds. Why? Because you thought the cream would rise to the top, and maybe it is with the two better teams actually winning these series. If you think the Padres are going to win the pennant, that's a plus 115 price. The New York Mets at a plus 210, the Phillies at a plus 450, and the Dodgers at a plus 550 price. If we're shopping today, Dubsy, is there anything on clearance that you would take here in the NL pennant odds?
I love a good bargain, Donnie. I mean, you'll find me at Marshall's 2 or 3 days a week just hunting the 50% off rack. But taking a look, Donnie, I think it'd have to be the Phillies. Now, I'm not bullish on their chances, but it is a game of trying to hunt down that value. If they can square it up with the Mets, if Ranger Suarez can deliver some of that filthy, nasty stuff to keep them in the game and get the victory here for Game 4, going back into Philadelphia, obviously just playing in that ballpark with some of the weapons they do have, that's the price for me at plus 450. Obviously, it's a similar story for the Dodgers, who threw out Landon Knack on the bump this afternoon, but I just do not have the confidence that the Dodgers can get it done today, or if they were lockable going back into Game 5 against the Padres. We saw in Game 2, San Diego came up the road and already got it done in the building there of the Dodgers. So I think for the Phillies, for me, would be the price play. If you've already got a couple of futures tickets, not a bad little place to jump in, find yourself a couple of positions there. But the Phillies, obviously big spot here for Game 4, try and take it back to their park, take it back to Philly, where it's never easy to play in. And it's just been a little inconsistent, but we certainly know the class, the ceiling, the top level is right there with Philadelphia. So that'd be the play for me, Donnie. What about you? What do you see on that board that tells us it is a must-buy spot?
I think it makes sense the way you're going, Dubsy, because let's just say if we do focus on the two dog teams right now down in the series, that would be the Dodgers and the Phillies. And it's not so much to say, well, Donnie's a Phillies fan. Well, of course I am. But money is money at this point. If I said, which team do I think is more likely to win this series down 2-1, it would be the Phillies. Now, they do have a worse price than the Dodgers at plus 550. But if they can get by tonight, you get Wheeler on the mound in game number 5 at home. The Dodgers, again, still will be scrambling at that point. So for my money, if I'm looking at the dogs, it would be the Philadelphia Phillies. So let's flip it over now, Dubsy. Let's take a look at the Padres and the Mets. If I gave you one of these teams, plus 115 and plus 210, and say, you know what? They're going to advance and be able to win the National League pennant. Which one of those two teams would be the case for you?
I think it's the Padres for me, Donnie. Playing some really good baseball. Starting arms have absolutely stepped up. Not a great, I guess on the injury side of things, losing Joey Musgrove. But if Michael King can continue to deliver with what we saw last night, fantastic. Darvish, he looks to be in special stuff kind of form. And Dylan Cease, obviously, out there as the ace. So I think it's the Padres for me. They've got the starting arms. The bullpen's been very strong to carry them through October. And obviously, the likes of Tatis, Manny Machado, it looks like the vibes, the energy are absolutely there. And they're seeing them really well. So you've got the offense and the defense. And it looks like a team that's no longer afraid of the Dodgers and some of the other big foes in the majors. It really feels like it could be their time to make a bit of a run.
And sometimes, Dubsy, it's just as simple as what the odds makers are thinking and also what we're thinking the same thing. Why are the Padres up top there to win the pennant? Well, they're a minus 146 to win today. The Mets are actually a slight underdog to win today. Not saying neither one of them can't, and it's always like, hey, if we just went by money line, there'd never be any upsets here across the board. We know that's not the case. But for me, I've always, like I said, coming into the playoffs, the team to watch was the San Diego Padres. They're proving me right now. But also, I thought the Phillies were the best overall team in the National League, not the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're down 2-1. So it is an interesting setup here in the NL. Dubsy, why don't we flip it over to the AL pennant odds here, because we're tied up in all of our series. The New York Yankees at a plus 125 to win the pennant. They are the favorite. The Cleveland Guardians, a plus 320 price. The Royals plus 360, and the Tigers at plus 360. Jumbled up there because we do have tie series, but now we're flipping back to the underdogs ballparks here. Let's start with the dog prices. The Kansas City Royals at home today, 1-1 series. The Detroit Tigers at home today, 1-1 series. Which way are you going with the Royals and the Tigers as the best chance between them to win the AL pennant?
Oh, I'd say the Royals if you're looking for a bit of a price. But I'd tell you what, special afternoon for the Tigers. They're looking for their first playoff win since back in 2014 there. And obviously Tariq Skubal is going to be a big part of that. Whenever you can get him out in the bum, it certainly looks to swing in their favor. But I do think the offense of the Royals has been pretty special, and they've got a good shot out there this afternoon. I think it's Lugo getting the start, but the bats have been absolutely superb. Bobby Witt's been one of the most exciting, scintillating in terms of offense, what we have seen. Seth Lugo, Cole Reagan, so they've got a couple of arms they can really lean on. So for me, in trying to decide between Detroit and Kansas City, I'd probably lean with the Royals, Donnie. I feel like this is a team who can certainly beat the best of them. They can put up a couple of dodgy spots as well, but I just think they may have a higher gear than what we're seeing from the Tigers coming into October.
I'll tell you what's crazy, Dubs, and I'm with you here. It would be the Kansas City Royals, even though they're a plus 360 price on each side. But if you say to yourself, the Tigers, they might have the best pitcher in baseball in Tariq Skubal. Yeah. But it's such an odd formula, Dubs. You get him, let's just say, in game number 1, and then they have a bullpen game number 2, game number 3, game number 4 before they get back to it's like they have one starting pitcher who's the best in baseball, and then they just try to piece it together over the next couple of days. You're not supposed to be able to get away with doing that, but here the Tigers are in round number 2 looking to get away with that. Top of the division here, should I say top of the conference. You look at the Yankees, plus 125, Guardians, plus 320. If I gave you those two choices to win the pennant here in the American League, who's that going to be?
It's the Yankees, Donnie, plus 125. We finally made it to October. Now we can punch in those wagers. The pinstripes, they got the bats, they got the superstars. Similar storyline to the Dodgers, though. It's going to be all about the defense. Some of these starting arms need to step up, show us a bit of consistency. Clark Schmidt will get out there for Game 3 this afternoon. But, I mean, you've got the likes of Juan Soto. Is he going to be back there in New York? Is he going to be back there with the Yankees next season? Aaron Judge, close to a career best. So in terms of firepower, superstars showing out, it feels like it could be the Yankees as the one to beat.
Yeah, it's interesting as you look at the AL pennant race, because coming into this round in the divisional series, it should be the Yankees by a mile. Like you talk about pedigree, players, have it over the Guardians, the Royals, and the Tigers. Now they find themselves sitting 1-1 on the road going up against Kansas City with a veteran pitcher on the mound. Boy, this would be an epic implosion for the Yankees if they cannot win the AL pennant, given their path of what it could have been to what it actually is now. Brian Cashman, watch out. Booney in the dugout, watch out at this point. We got a lot more Major League Baseball to talk about, which includes the World Series odds. Who's winning it all, people? Come on back to find out.
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number 1 overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number 1 overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Let's get the odds perspective here on winning a World Series right here on the early line, Sirius XM channel 159. It's Stubbs and Donnie here on a Wednesday morning. And how about this? The Padres are the favorites, Stubbsy, to win the World Series at a plus 270 price, followed by the Yankees, Mets, Phillies, Dodgers, Guardians, Tigers, and Royals. Let's start up top. Is it deservedly so for those Padres to be at the top of the odds board?
I feel like the odds makers have had a tough time reacting all regular season, and now we're obviously in the playoffs. They've got a game less to play. You know, if they win today, they're going to punch their ticket. But yes, I do think they are, Donnie. They've made light work of the Dodgers thus far. A really good chance to close it out in Game 4 coming up later today down there at Petco. Joe Musgrove, highlighted before the break. That's going to be a massive loss for the Padres going through October. They've certainly got the arms to match. Michael King, he's looked fantastic. Darvish, watch out. What a 1-2 punch. You throw Dylan Cease into the mix there as well. And the bats, the offense, Manny Machado, what a year he continues to put together. You've got the likes of a Jackson Merrill, Tatis, who was lighting them up there in Game 3. So, yeah, long story short, the Padres should be the team to beat. They've shown that consistency. All of these teams have got superstars in their own right. We all know what they're capable of, but if you're looking at a couple of the others, the Yankees, the Dodgers, the Phillies, and the Mets, they've all shown a bit more vulnerability. For me, the momentum play, I know it's a short price, but still plus 270, not bad considering we could drop off with a couple of teams later today. I think that is the team to beat.
Yeah, I do agree the Padres should be up top here. Again, followed by the Yankees and the Mets. If we look at that cutoff there, which then brings in the Phillies and the Dodgers. We talked about the Phillies and the Dodgers here with the NL pennant odds, plus 450 and plus 550. But now you have even bigger prices to win the World Series. If I said, Dubsy, I'm going to give you a free bet between the Phillies and the Dodgers to win the World Series at price points of plus 750 and 9-1, which way would you be going today with that ticket?
It'd have to be the Phillies. I think they've got a more complete roster. A little surprised that we're here going into Game 4 trying to find something with Ranger Suarez out there on the hill. But the Phillies are so capable. They've got the championship DNA, the experience, the pedigree. And if they can get it back to Philadelphia there for Game 5, watch out. Never going to be an easy place to play going through the month of October. So I think the Phillies have got a good chance to square it up with the Mets for Game 4, force a Game 5, and not a team that you want to take out on the other side. But what a matchup that would be in the National League there. Phillies taking on the Padres. East Coast meets West Coast. But that'd be the price play for me, Donnie. Common theme. I've lost a lot of confidence, a lot of stock in Dave Roberts and the Dodgers. Just too inconsistent from the last, 6 weeks leading into the playoffs.
We'll see how it plays out. 4 games, as we said today. 2 of those teams in New York that are going to be in action. But also, how about a perfect transition to another New York team in another league? That's the NFL, and that is the New York Jets, who yesterday fired their head football coach, Robert Saleh. He goes to the sideline. Jeff Ulbrich steps in, and yesterday a tweet came out when it happened from Ian Rappaport, and also doubling down and saying, here's the statement from Woody Johnson on the firing of Robert Saleh. Now, again, it's a lot of words in there. Boy, wish him well. You probably don't. You have to say that. You got to put it in here. You were angry at this football team. And as he points out, the owner said, I have the most talented team I've had here in 25 years, and it's not been working out. The coach had to go because the players aren't going to go mid-season. So, Dubsy, I want to start with that right here. Firing Robert Saleh as your head football coach, does that make a difference in the Jets season, or is this just trying to mask bigger issues, but something had to be done?
I think you're giving the other head coach a bit more rope to play with. That's Aaron Rodgers. What a toxic environment this must be to work in, day out. For Robert Saleh not being a part of the Jets moving forward, I don't know how this is really going to turn the offense around, and that's been the sluggish part for them. They're struggling to put up points. They put up 9 against Denver 2 weeks ago. They look like an absolute mess over in London early there on Sunday. So the firing of your head coach, I don't know what that really tells us in the locker room, trying to rally the troops. Suddenly I'd be sitting there, Donnie, saying, great, it really is now the Aaron Rodgers show, and we're all just falling in line. This is the 40-year-old quarterback about to turn 41 who missed the whole season. We've been waiting for him to show up, and now we've got a head coach, Robert Saleh. The players like playing for Robert Saleh. Yes, he made a bit of a mess of last season. The record suggests that it hasn't been a fantastic showing for the Jets, but I feel like this is a call that could have come through preseason, leading into the regular season. Reports were that they didn't look great going in some of those practices against, familiar foes. To do it after week 5, you've got 2 wins on the board. I don't think it's going to turn around anything in a hurry. I don't like what I've seen for the Jets, and suddenly you cannot imagine it's a great feeling or a great vibe over there in the Jets clubhouse.
Yeah, they're just trying to change some things up, but the issue's never been the defense. Robert Saleh is a defensive guy here. Ulbrich is going to take over as the interim head coach. He is a defensive guy. Sure, that defense plays well. It's the offense's issues. Now, let's get to another tweet yesterday, because this is really more of a topic. Adam Schefter put a tweet out that said, Jets owner Woody Johnson said he spoke to Aaron Rodgers on Monday night, but it wasn't about Robert Saleh. Johnson said Rodgers had no input in the decision made this morning. You never can believe what anybody says here, because there's no way, like Aaron Rodgers being brought over to the Jets was basically running the organization. Do you like Robert Saleh as a head coach? Yeah, I think he'll be okay. Who do you want as your offensive coordinator? We're going to bring him in specifically, Nathaniel Hackett, who was a disaster out in Denver, but that is Aaron Rodgers' guy. Every single move that had to be made had to be run by Aaron Rodgers to make sure he's happy, which included Dubsy. Coming back this season, I'm pretty sure that Aaron Rodgers was asked by upper management, which meant the ownership group, are you happy with the coaches? Is it okay if they come back this year? And he probably gave his blessing. There is no way that Aaron Rodgers spoke to the owner on a phone call before anybody was fired, and that wasn't brought up where it said, hey, Aaron, looking to make a move at the head coaching spot. You're going to have an issue if I do that. You've got to be kidding me. Absolutely, that was said on the phone. So the fact that we're sitting here today debating on whether Aaron Rodgers was in or out on the owner, calling him and talking to him and not mentioning it, I don't believe that, Dubsy, for 1 second.
No, I'm not buying into that. And, for Aaron Rodgers, I mean, time and time again, one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. Is the best behind him? Yes, absolutely it is. You look at all the key metrics. Every single stat and number have been trending in the wrong direction the last 3 years, prior to last year, except for interceptions. We saw a big uptick in that. Now he's flashed, signs of greatness again this season. I feel like that's been the Jets over the last 12 months with some of the weapons they've got to work with. But the offense ranks 25th there in the league, 27th in trying to pick up yards. It hasn't been good enough. For Aaron Rodgers, the Jets, crash landing. They are not turning things around in a hurry, Donnie.
No, they certainly haven't. And by the way, what happens if it happened to the SportsGrid network, where management called Ben Stevens and said, we're looking to let Donnie Rightside go? He backed me up. It never happened. We're here to win it all in the SportsGrid network. We'll be right back. More Hot Topic.
We're at a point in time coming off of a wild Saturday of college football. People are consistently peeking over at this board. He actually would not be my number one overall pick, nor would I bet him to be the number one overall pick. I think you got that next wave of NFL players, which is so enticing, which when you see Jaden Daniels come into the NFL and you go, I can get something like that with a guy with just as good an arm.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start, so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
What a fast-moving hour, number one, right here on the Early Line, Sirius XM Channel 159. Dubs and Donnie here on a Wednesday morning. The topics continue to flow, and typically, New York is on our mind. The Yankees, the Mets, and also the Jets. But Dubsy, like, a change was made. The Jets aren't playing good football. So why don't we reassess if changes, or so to say, this coaching change can actually make a difference on the season? The win total now sitting at 8.5 to make the playoffs. Now a plus money dog price at plus 112 to win the AFC East at a plus 350. The AFC title, 18-1. A Super Bowl at 28-1. Let's start here. This change being made at the head coaching position, how does it affect your outlook on the New York Jets moving forward?
I don't think it changes much. You know, Robert Saleh being so defensive-minded, Donnie, I don't think it really changes the offense, who really have shown a lot of struggles coming at this point of the season. They're just failing to get it downfield. They're really, I guess, lacking that cadence, if you want to steal a term there from the one and only Aaron Rodgers. So I don't like their chances. They're doing a nice little dance with the Buffalo Bills for Monday Night Football, so it doesn't get a lot easier. For the playoffs at plus 112, I mean, you could entertain that number. For the win total, I don't see a world in which they get over 8.5 either. This was the biggest investment I had coming into the season. It was south of the Jets' win total. What could go wrong at 40 years of age when you've got a guy like Aaron Rodgers calling the shots? There's been no cohesion with the likes of a Garrett Wilson. Alan Lazard has been his go-to guy when it matters most. And word about Davante Adams, that decision's got to be made in the next, 48 hours, less than 48 hours now. So the playoffs at plus 112, I would entertain, but it doesn't get a lot easier. Bills, Steelers, Patriots, those last two being on the road here, haven't seen enough to be convinced. It's an aging team. The championship window has been this season. It's right here, right now. There is a lot of pressure in the building, and I just don't see how this is going to be the spark to turn things around.
Robert Saleh does not change the outlook for me, Dubsy, on the offensive side of the ball, which is the key. The defense has always been playing well. The offense is a problem. You didn't fire him and say, okay, Cliff Kingsbury's coming in to sort of shake things up on the offensive side here. That didn't happen. So I don't think it's going to be a big difference. Aaron Rodgers on the season so far, 1,093 yards passing, 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. 3 of those are which he threw overseas in London, which cost them the game against the Minnesota Vikings. So if we're saying, okay, the coaching change was made, that doesn't change all that much. The players, and again, look at the offense. They tried to rebuild the offensive line. It hasn't worked out all that well. You have a serviceable tight end in Conklin. You have 2 really good young running backs. You have Garrett Wilson on one side, Mike Williams on the other, Alan Lazard in the slot. Now, Davante Adams, Dubsy, does want to play once again with Aaron Rodgers on his destination list once he gets traded from the Vegas Raiders. If the Jets get Davante Adams, does your outlook change now? Forget about the coaching change. Forget about the quarterback as is. Davante Adams coming over. Could that lift your spirits a little bit?
Yeah, it really would, Donnie. And the word is that we're going to get mail next 24 to 48 hours. The Raiders really trying to step up that likely destination for Davante Adams. For Davante Adams, 31 years of age, still dealing with that niggling hamstring injury, but still one of the best wide receivers in the game right now. Obviously has that chemistry being a former Packer with Aaron Rodgers. So I think these two would be quite the 1-2 punch. And if anything, it just allows, I guess, that Jets offense to work on a couple of things, notably there with the run game and trying to get Garrett Wilson sort of feeling it, just a bit more in step with Rodgers there. So I tell you what, that would be weapons across the board. Davante Adams, whether he would put up those monster stats that we saw back there in the day at Green Bay, probably not, but just takes a lot of pressure away from the likes of Alan Lazard, Garrett Wilson. So Aaron Rodgers getting another one of his favorite weapons, which has put him in to the Hall of Fame career that we've seen so far. So maybe they're trying to do one final dance. And yes, Donnie, if Davante Adams is suiting up as a Jet, I would like their chances a lot more than without him.
Jerry Jones in the offseason, Dubsy, coined the phrase, we're going to go all in. And he didn't mean any of that because they didn't go anywhere with all in. You look at the Jets right now, theoretically, Dubs, they have to go all in because they have Aaron Rodgers for maybe a 2-year window where you might as well push all your chips to the center and say, okay, if we can't get the job done, yes, we're going to be rebuilding for maybe 2 or 3 years, finding a new quarterback and restructuring our salary cap and getting some young players in the building. But my goodness, Davante Adams on one side, Garrett Wilson on the other, Mike Williams to come in the red zone, and again, 2 good running backs. That should equate to victories and a chance to get to the playoffs and win a few games. I just don't know if they're too far gone because also keep in mind, You watch that game this past weekend. Aaron Rodgers doesn't move all that great, then got injured and got caught up on that ankle injury. We'll see how that goes moving forward. Not a great look for the Jets, but they're certainly scrambling right now to try to find that, okay, the locker room is right. Aaron Rodgers in a good headspace. They're going to start winning football games. Maybe they add talent in Devontae Adams and see if that works out. I don't have high hope for the New York Jets, but they're going to continue to try. Maybe they are all in. It's going to be May, people. You know what? Is it Drake May time in New England? Could be. This weekend, starter. Oh!